And in my conversations with leaders all across the country, I find that those who get the most out of their people, those who inspire followership, are the ones who take a genuine care and concern, a genuine love and interest in their people. They spend 80% of their time on caring for the people side of the business, 20% of the time on the task side of the business.
San Diego 911 emergency. You need to come right away. There's a man with a gun and it's loaded. Receiving emergency signal from 4 George 1141. Got a white female down. We need paramedics code, please. All available units will code that
way. Today with me, I have an amazing man. And let me just give you some background on him. A dispatcher for 10 years, not just with any agency, but with LAPD. And he has spoken around the country. He has helped thousands of people. And in fact, I've spent probably in at least an hour to an hour and a half talking to him on the phone alone. And Timm is simply amazing. And I knew as soon as I read about him that I probably needed to have him on the podcast. And then after I talked to him for about 3.5 seconds on the phone, I knew immediately. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Kerry. It's great to be here.
So tell me about you. You spent 10 years with LAPD. Your focus has been on helping specifically the folks that work the 911, work in the comm center. You have a term that I want you to share with us about under the headset and your tools for resiliency. So as we talk about the first 15 minutes of the show, we try to spend on training, the second 15 minutes on leadership, the third 15 on communication. So as we talk about training, tell me about the training you've been doing, the challenges that you run into, and some of the takeaways that the listeners can have from you.
Sure. So yes, I spent 10 years under the headset working for communications division at Los Angeles Police Department. And my story, while not unique, was my experience of working there was eye-opening, because for the first 7 years of my career, I wasn't a very nice dispatcher or coworker or person. In fact, I found out later on that my coworkers were calling me Angry Adam behind my back. And what was going on yeah, I know. And I'm from small town Minnesota. So to hear that I was called Angry Adam, it stung even more. But what I found that I was doing was internalizing the stress of what I was hearing, my personal stress, because I didn't have tools to deal with it. And so I was taking it out on my fellow drivers on the LA freeways. I was a hardcore road rager during this time. I was taking it out on callers and coworkers, and I was blaming it all on everybody else, because nowhere in my 12-month training program did anyone mention, hey, if you're not careful, this job might affect you. You might experience vicarious trauma. You might experience emotional labor and compassion fatigue. And it was at the 7-year mark that I took a stress reduction class, not knowing any of this, by the way. But that 6-week class changed my life, because I started dealing with my stress. I started increasing my self-awareness. And instead of blaming everybody else for the way things were turning out in my life, I started to point the finger at myself. And from there, the world in my life really just opened up. And that was at the 7-year mark. So for 3.5 more years, I worked at the dispatch center, a much different person. I was kinder, better, providing better customer service to callers, and seeing the power of the personal work. I endeavored to share it. And that's kind of the beginning of my life as a trainer or instructor, was just a desire to share with others who I thought might be in similar situation, what I went through and the tools that helped me.
So I think one of the first takeaways is that you sought out training, and it literally changed your life.
Mm-hmm.
a true transformation, and you're taking that training and doing that for other people now.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I know just in our conversations, you've been through a significant amount of training. So anybody listening to this podcast, if you're thinking about having Adam come in to do some training for your agency or for your group, I tell you right now, the training that Adam's been through, and I know the facilitators, I know Adam's instructors as he went through the Master Instructor Certification course, level 3, all the way to level 3. And a lot of people just make it maybe through level 1 if they even do that. So Adam has a lot of experience in front of the classroom, and I know the training that he received was high level. So Adam, I just want to put that plug in there for you right now.
Thank you.
By the way, while we're on the subject, how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, well, my website or my company, I left LAPD about 5 years ago and started my company, The Healthy Dispatcher. And so anyone who's interested in my classes and my approach and further information on my background can just go to thehealthydispatcher.com. I also have the Healthy Dispatcher Facebook business page, and on Twitter, I think the handle is at Healthy Dispatch. And my classes and everything are out there. But absolutely, I want to kind of piggyback on what we were talking about with the Master Instructor Certification course. It was through my advancement up to level 3 of the 4-level course that I learned about adult learning theory, that I learned about creating learning activities that are engaging. I remember and I think that this is one of the mottos of the course is we have to cause learners to think and reason. And so when I started designing courses, that's what my goal was, because I sat in my law enforcement career, I sat in a lot of boring trainings where I fought for hours to stay awake, and I wondered about the applicability of the content to my life, both on and off the job. And so my classes are built from the ground up with that in mind. How can I make this a powerful takeaway for anyone who's in the class? And I think that's really a big reason why my classes are so popular all across the country. I came home yesterday morning from my last trip of the year, and I traveled about 300 days this year.
Wow.
So planes every week since the last week of January. And there's a reason for that. And I think it's because of the engagement. It's because people know that when they leave the class, they have received something that they can use and that they can apply. And that's kind of the feedback that I'm getting, and it's just awesome.
And I love everything that you said about that. So for trainers that are listening to this segment, and I'm always looking for those takeaways. Anybody that's been listening to this podcast for more than the 7.5 minutes that we've been on today knows that I'm looking every segment. There's at least one, if not multiple takeaways. And so your takeaways that you just gave us, making the training interactive, making it engaging, making sure that people, when they leave your class, have actionable things that they can use right away. Not something that they're going to use a month from now or have to develop new skills, but they can actually, when they walk out the door, they're putting that training into practice. That's good, effective training.
Absolutely. And even more fundamentally, my goal in all of my classes, and even when I'm doing breakout sessions or conference keynotes, the first words out of my mouth are designed to get the learner engaged from the beginning. One of the most frustrating parts of being a learner, a student, an attendee of training classes as I was coming up was the instructor would spend the first 15 minutes talking about their resume. Like that's the come out role was, here's me, this is my background, this is why I'm uniquely positioned to be telling you this information. And I'm not saying that that's not important, but that shouldn't be the first thing you say.
So let's talk about this. Let's give our listeners some other takeaways, because you're preaching to the choir here, and I absolutely love it, and I totally agree. So let's talk about opening a training session. What's
Okay.
your method? When you
Uh,
step up to the microphone for a keynote, and maybe use a different method, or
yeah.
you step in front of a classroom, you've just been introduced,
Yeah.
it is second one rolling forward. How do you start that class?
First of all, it depends. Your initial statement should be geared towards the content of the class. So for my resilience class, which is about stress resilience, stress management, I say, raise your hand if you have experienced stress as a result of your job sometime this week. And right then, almost all hands go up. And then I say, sometime this month. By that point, everyone's hands are raised. And then I say, keep your hand up if this stress has impacted some other area of your life, like your sleep, like your patience, like your relationships, like your weight. Take a look around. Like everyone's hands are up and everyone's going, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Take a look around. We are all in this together. And I say, okay, you can put your hand down now. And I say, wouldn't it be cool if you had a few strategies, perspectives, and takeaways that you could apply to your life immediately so this wasn't the case? And they all kind of look around and go, yeah, that would be cool.
How about that?
Yeah.
So what you just described in the training that I do, where I teach people how to teach, is making the class about the participants.
Mm.
From moment one, have you, and they're raising their hands, yes, I have. They're seeing that they have things in common. You're making it about them. Hello, my name is, and this is my resume, is about the instructor. That's instructor centered.
Yeah.
And what you do is learner centered classes. And
Yes.
that is that, we don't do things to be popular as trainers.
Yeah.
We do things to deliver effective training, because otherwise
Yeah.
it's a waste of our time and it's a waste of everybody else's.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I point that out is we don't do things just to have get great reviews.
Right.
We do things because it's the right thing to do. And the right thing to do in training is make sure that the time that your students are spending in your classroom and the money that the agency is spending to put them there, or if the students are spending their own money, the money that they spend as well as their time is a great return on investment. So they're investing in you as an instructor, as a trainer. Let's make sure that the return on that investment is as high as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, absolutely love that. Now,
Yeah.
one other thing I want to point out, and you just naturally did it, and it was pretty cool. I couldn't have asked you to demonstrate it better. Your voice inflections, the melody in your voice. Do you know who Roger Love is? Have you ever heard of him? Roger Love, L-O-V. So look him up. Anybody listening to this podcast, look up Roger. I'll put the links to his stuff in the show notes. So Roger Love is a voice coach. Now you think, okay, well, he's a voice coach. He's a voice coach to God and everyone. He's simply amazing. He's one of my mentors, and I follow him closely because he offers ways that your voice actually engages the audience as part of your entire package. And especially if you're doing a multi-day training, you're doing a 3-day class, a 5-day class. And if you're the primary instructor, you have to take care of your vocal cords. You have to warm them up. You have to do exercises, and they're super simple exercises to make sure you don't damage your vocal cords. And you can actually make it through the entire 3-day course. Now, if you have a multitude of other instructors, which is always a great way to do it, that's wonderful. But you're on the road 300 days a year. You particularly, Adam, would want to know how to protect your voice. Roger has a ton of free material, free training that he sends out on a regular basis. He just provides a ton of value. And his events and in fact, there's one in Los Angeles in March. He is, I think it's the end of March, is very reasonable. He doesn't charge a lot for his events for all the value. And I mean, he's if you know a singer, a famous artist, he's probably coached him. He's like high level. So you launched into using a lot of voice inflections. You changed the rate of delivery, the pace at which you went, and all of that, along with your hand motions and your body movement, you just naturally did it. So for any trainers who are looking for techniques, Adam just demonstrated and just gave you a bunch of takeaways. Now,
And I'll just let you know, my secret weapon was years in Toastmasters. So
yeah, and
I
yeah,
spent years in a Toastmasters room, and it was a year of weekly Toastmasters meetings and giving presentations, 5 to 7 minute presentations in Toastmasters that allowed me to kind of come out of my shell.
that's a great organization. Another one that that's kind of up and coming, a lot of people don't know about it, is called Speakers Club. And you can hop on meetup.com. You can just Google Speakers Club. And it's very similar to Toastmasters. It's a little bit different, different pricing model, and a ton of great information. So yeah, great idea suggesting Toastmasters. In fact, that's a great way to wrap up this section on training. I'm here today with Adam Timm, just an amazing instructor. And what we're going to be talking about during the second segment of training, leadership, and communication is leadership. Adam, talk to me about the challenges that you're seeing with leadership. You're on the road right around 300 days out of the year, training, speaking to thousands of people. You're seeing leadership examples, both good and bad, from around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about some solutions and ideas for people who are in leadership roles. And one thing before I set you loose on that is, I don't know if you and I talked about this before, but I'm really big on the fact a leader is not by title or position.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, regardless of your occupation, you can be a leader. Yeah. And it's how you approach life. It's the attitude toward the skills that you develop for doing whatever it is that you do to make the world a better place. So, Adam, I'll turn you loose on this subject now.
Sure. Well, I'll piggyback on that last statement. I would argue that in emergency services and public safety, if you are not embodying a leadership approach in all you do, like there is no one over your shoulder all the time. Like, sure, we have micromanaging bosses in any public safety agency.
One or two.
Yeah, right. But they are not, even then, they're not, if you're working a 12-hour shift, the majority of the time you are on your own. You are, and if you're not demonstrating leadership, you're saying, well, that's above my pay grade, or that's not in my job description, which means you're not taking initiative and you're not kind of pushing the frontier of what personal excellence looks like. Then I think something is lost. And certainly from my own personal experience, sitting at a console, taking call after call after call, or fielding radio broadcasts. If I was working the radio, I'm the leader there. I'm the point person for that caller. I'm the point person for all of the officers in my division if I'm working dispatch. And I need to be taking a proactive approach. I need to be really question. In the question I've been asking in my leadership training classes is this, and this is a question that we can all ask ourselves of our behavior in the moment. Would a leader do this? Would a leader do what I'm doing right now? And I think that we have an idea of what leadership looks like personally, what good leaders do or would do. And so it's pretty easy, like for the first 7 years of my career, that I was not embodying a personal leadership approach. I mean, my disciplinary record with the city of Los Angeles speaks to that. And I'm not proud of the things that I said on a recorded line to people requesting the police for what I deemed non-emergency matters, like my 8-year-old won't obey the house rules, like the ice cream truck is too loud, can you have them move down the street, like the neighbor threw trash in my lawn. Like, these are actual calls that get placed all the time. And our job as telecommunicators is to find a reason to send. What I felt my job was to find a reason not to send, which made my job much more difficult because it was much more complicated. If I was just providing customer service, again, taking a personal leadership approach, it would have been different.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
more simple for me, and I think it's back to leadership. If you say, okay, today I'm going to be a leader, and whatever that looks like for you, it becomes more simple. So that's one dimension of leadership. That's kind of the personal leadership, and that can arrive no matter where you are in the organization, frontline all the way up to manager, director, captain, chief. To your other question, what do I see leaders not doing enough of? And this kind of comes down to positional leadership. I think that we're very busy in public safety. We got a lot of fires to put out. And as a result of getting mired in the daily rigmarole, which is all that stack of papers on your desk, which is all the tasks that you have to get taken care of, sometimes in our task-oriented perspective of putting out fires, we lose sight of the most important aspect of organizational life, and that is the people side. And in my conversations with leaders all across the country, I find that those who get the most out of their people, those who inspire followership, are the ones who take a genuine care and concern, a genuine love and interest in their people. They spend 80% of their time on caring for the people side of the business, 20% of the time on the task side of the business. Whereas the not so great leaders flip that percentage. They spend 80% on the tasks, and then only 20% nurturing their people.
Yeah, and there's a huge difference between being a leader and being a manager.
Absolutely.
And those two terms used to be thrown in together, leadership and management, as if they were all one. And through time, what's ended up happening is those are two very distinctly different areas. And literally what you're describing is spending 80% on leadership, 20% on management, which
Absolutely.
sometimes seems counterintuitive because, well, if I don't manage it, if I don't manage it, then everything's going to fall apart. And the reality is, when you have good people, when you're concentrating on the people, your management becomes much easier because when you concentrate on taking care of the people take care of everything else. Yeah. And they do it in a way with passion and commitment. When you overmanage, when you micromanage, when you're on constantly, that's when people pull back. That's when they don't have passion. That's when they don't have commitment. Because in emergency services, you can order any employee to do anything.
Right.
Legal, moral, ethical, assuming that's all there, but you can order somebody, take a post, a firefighter to start with tear down after a scene, clean up, mop up, an EMT to clean an ambulance, a police officer to do traffic control at an intersection. How well are they going to complete that task? How good is that mop up going to be? How well is that ambulance going to be cleaned? How good of traffic control is the officer going to be sitting in their car the entire time texting, or are they actually going to be, with their car parked, hoping that the lights stop cars from driving into the crash scene? Or are they actually going to be out of their car, actively engaged, answering questions of the public, doing everything that they're supposed to do? That's the difference between passion and commitment and the task being done at the minimum level. And what you're describing is concentrate on leadership and you'll get that passion and commitment. Concentrate on management and you'll actually create more work for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really a reflection. The passion and commitment demonstrated by the downline is a reflection of the passion and commitment demonstrated by leadership
toward the people that are in the downline.
Yeah, and the job itself. I mean,
yes.
In the book, The Leadership Challenge. Have you read this book?
Yes.
It's a fantastic.
Yeah.
Kuzis and Posner, they distilled thousands and thousands of survey responses into the 5 qualities of exemplary leadership, and they found that the first quality of exemplary leaders is that they model the way. in
Yeah.
all that they do. And they'll go further as to say that self-awareness really is the core of leadership. And so if as leaders, if we're not looking at ourselves saying, am I modeling a way that I want to see in my people? And if the answer is no, I had a bad day, or I'm having a bad year or a bad decade, then there's information there. There's information, and hopefully that information, as we start to turn the gaze on ourselves, becomes fodder for personal development, personal change.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I think there's a ton of information out there about personal development. And for the leaders that are listening to this section, start to look into that. Start to look into the people who are at and have been at the forefront of personal development. Start looking at the stuff back in the day. And I'm really dating myself here, but Jim Rohn. Mm-hmm. And you look at people like Zig Ziglar. Even though his focus was on sales, it was on how do you interact with people. When you look at Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard, Bo Eason, Roger Love, the people that are truly saying, hey, look, we can interact better with other people, and here's tools to be able to do it. Yeah. It just makes it so much easier. You don't have to go out and invent your own tools. The tools are out there. People are literally giving them away for free because they want the world to be a better place. Yeah. And that's why all of us get into emergency services. The people that listen to this, and Adam, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is the most popular public safety podcast. 7.3 billion people listen to this. There's 6 people in Botswana that have not heard about this podcast. Just 6. So, but it's for firefighters, it's for EMTs, medics, it's for cops. And what I say is, I'm the Robin Hood for public safety. I'm stealing wisdom from the people that have it, which is you today, and giving it to the people that need it, which is our listeners. And so for the listeners, the information's out there. And if you can't find it, shoot me a text message, shoot me an email. I'll help you find it. I'll give you what I got. I
can give you 5 leadership book recommendations that will light your heart on fire today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Adam, I love this. We've got about 3 minutes left in this section. Talk a little bit more. So if a leader is going to spend 80% of his time taking care of people, from the thousands of people that you've helped, give us 1 or 2 things that a leader can do to help take care of the people. Besides bringing you in to do training, what can a leader do to help their people?
First thing is to talk to your people. I was doing a leadership session at a recent national 911 conference, and I invited one of the exemplary leaders in the industry up to the microphone, and there was 250, 300 people in the room. It was one of the big breakout sessions, and I asked her to share what she does differently, because I've been interviewing some of the best leaders in 911 for my 3rd book, which I'm working on right now. And it's all about this type of leadership. And I had previously identified and heard stories of this person's exemplary leadership. And she said, what I feel like my job is to know something personal about all of my employees. And I said, wait, so you know something personal about all of your employees? How many employees do you have? She has 145 employees at her communications center. And that's the type of leader that I want to work for and with. So that's one thing. Just get to know your people. Just have conversations. Walk around and try to create some meaningful connection. And I think that many leaders will not take that step because, we fear that they won't like us. We fear judgment. We fear stepping out of our comfort zone. We have to confront those fears. And then the other. Go ahead.
I gotta stop you here, brother, because right here. So as an entrepreneur, I work a lot with people in sales and trying to figure out why they're not getting sales work done. Exactly what you just said. It's the same basic fears. That ultimately the fear of rejection, the fear that my motives are going to be questioned.
Yeah.
And every single one of those fears, whether it's stopping somebody from growing their business or it's stopping a leader from interacting with their people, every single one of those fears that you just listed off are internal fears. They're about you. They're about, they're only about you, the person that is thinking these things in your head. They're not about the other person. So you're ultimately projecting onto someone else your fears.
Yeah.
So what you said was so powerful, because when you start to experience success, when you have that first conversation, that second conversation, that third conversation, and you're fully present, and one of the best ways to be fully present in the conversation that you're describing is really simple. Look for that personal thing. Knowing just one personal thing, it's not so much worrying about keeping track of everything, but looking to find out that personal thing about that person. For you, we know you're working on your third book. That's an example, a perfectly example of how in casual conversation, something personal comes out. But you are going to be so fully present in that conversation when you are intentional about that conversation. I teach people about elevator conversations. Elevator conversations. Step on the elevator. Hey, Adam, how you doing today? What's your response?
Doing great.
Yeah, cool. Hey, ding. Okay. Take care. Have a good day. Yeah. We were so surface level. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And you can have that conversation. Hey, how's your day going? Oh, great. You'll get the pat answer. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I teach people too is to say, no, really, how is your day going? And repeat the question and let them know you're really interested. And you'll get a different response. Yeah. Having that conversation with intention, whether it's to really find out how that person's day is going, if that's where you're going to stay in that elevator level of conversation, super, super, super surface level, or if you're going to dive deep and find out what's truly going on, looking for that, you're going to be so fully present. There is nobody that's going to reject you. And your motives are never going to be questioned, because maybe they will be at first. Maybe they'll be a little on guard because this is something you haven't done before. Well, once you make it start to be a habit of pattern and practice, other dispatchers are going to talk to other dispatchers and going to say, yeah, Kathy stopped by and, we had a really great conversation. I did the same. We were just talking the other day. Great example, Adam. Thank you for that. You were going to say something else before I interrupted you.
Well, I was going to say that the next step, or perhaps the preemptive step to confronting fears that might arise, is just preparing and learning. I unfortunately, for the industry, I find that there are some leaders who aren't exactly leaders. They promoted to management. They promoted to a supervisor position because they could do less work for more money. And that the optics of that from the people who report to that supervisor, it doesn't look good, and it's not inspirational. And so leadership, or a leadership role, or a supervisory role, is an opportunity to increase your leverage. And we can't remain stagnant in these positions. And so go to training, read books, talk to people, find a mentor who is a leader, who is an exemplary leader, and find out how they became who they are. Learn about servant leadership. Learn about this people-oriented approach. If you're not really clear about what leadership truly means, reach out to me or Carrie about great books that you can read. And it's, I find that the best leaders are committed to lifelong learning. So
absolutely, without question, which
that any of us can make.
Yeah, and that is a perfect way to wrap up this block on leadership, is that they are committed to that. And you've given some great takeaways. Thank you for that. So as we wrap up the leadership block, Adam, thank you for being with us. With us today is Adam Timm. Adam, as we step into communication, kind of ironic since you were a 911 dispatcher for LAPD, major agency, obviously, for 10 years. And you've been going around the country talking to 911 centers across the country, helping thousands of people. As we talk about communication, what are some of the things that you do to communicate better with other people?
Well, the first thing is to listen.
Oh,
And
okay. So
I know,
talk more about that, because I want to listen to you talk about listening.
yeah, well, I think that it seems so simple, but one of the scantest resources in the modern age is attention, because there are
Mm.
so many things competing for limited bandwidth. And so we have Facebook and smartphones, and then there's just the general busyness of life. Then, being in public safety, we have a very sophisticated BS detector, and so we're all street psychologists sizing people up, and so we're not actually listening to the person in front of us. We're hearing things through a filter, through judgments, through distraction. We're thinking about where we'd rather be, or we're thinking about a reply instead of what's actually being communicated. So noticing how you're showing up in communication exchanges is the first step.
You know, Dr. George Thompson, he was the creator of verbal judo, and a lot of law
Absolutely.
enforcement officers and other emergency services people have been trained in verbal judo. One of my favorite quotes from him was, people are either talking or, and you would normally think, well, they must be listening if they're not talking. And what Dr. Thompson said was, people are either talking or waiting to talk.
Yes.
And that's so true. And you know, you and I have talked about bank code,
Yes.
and for the listeners, and it'll be in the show notes, but mybankcode.com/victory. You can find out about your own personality. One of the great things I love about bank code is the ability, because you're looking to determine what that other person's bank code is, what their personality is, what is the language that they can hear best.
Mm.
So when you're communicating with that person, when you're listening very carefully to their responses. You're totally present in that conversation, because you are trying to figure out who they are and how they communicate and how to communicate best with them. So just implementing bank in your relationships with other people, your communication, automatically makes you a better listener. It's one of the cool things about the program. So for you, how do you listen well? What are some of your tips, tricks, and techniques?
Eye contact, first of all. Have an open body posture. So I'm really aware of my nonverbals. So I think in face-to-face conversations, nonverbals sometimes fall by the wayside, especially in the pressure cooker that is the communications center, or any other public safety environment. We want people to get to the point real fast, and so we can get on with the day, with the work. And because we're only applying a cursory level of attention, or investment really into these exchanges, there's something lost. And so just being present with your body language, with eye contact, and then the term is used very often, but active listening, and there are elements, the dimensions of active listening. So nodding, showing affirmative responses, asking questions. I read a communication book, and I can't remember the name of the book right now, but they said that the author said that the best communicators are and the best listeners are not necessarily the ones who are checking all the boxes of active listening, meaning they're nodding their head, their arms aren't crossed, they're maintaining eye contact, but they are listening so intently that they ask questions which deepen or further the exchange. So I'm listening for those opportunities to create deeper connection. And really that's what we're building, what we're doing. We're building relationships. We're creating connection. And in this even communication, this conversation on communication feed back into leadership. Like the
Yeah.
best leaders are constantly know that they are building connection, that they're building relationships, and the currency of this realm is our words, is communication.
Yeah. And the currency is I'm gonna shift it just a little bit. What I say is it's your relationship currency. That's the most valuable currency out there. So people are like, well, time is very valuable. Time is money. Time is not money. Time is more valuable than money because you can't put time in a bank. You can't have interest built up on time. You can't save time. Well, you can save time, but you can't bank time and pull it out later like you can money. So automatically, because time is fleeting, time is more valuable. But even more valuable than time is relationships. You know, I use this example yesterday at a training session I had at a defense summit. In about 2014, my mom went out and bought some silver coins because she wanted to invest in precious metals. And at the time, the spot price, the price of silver, was $23. Today, in December of 2018, it's hovering around 17. I think it's a little bit less than $17.
Oh.
So that's a $6 per ounce drop.
Yeah.
So if you bought one coin, that coin is now worth $6 less today than it was when it was purchased.
Yeah.
Times however many, I don't know how many she bought, however many she bought. But the point is, the value goes down. That dollar in your pocket 5 years ago would have bought more stuff than it does today because the value of currency has decreased due to inflation.
Yeah.
But when you invest in your relationships are always going to be more valuable than money. They're going to be more valuable than even time. And time is pretty darn valuable. Like you say, we get pulled in so many directions. And the other thing that I loved at what you said, you talked about how communication wraps up into leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Because you talk just a little bit more about that. Tell me your mindset on that.
Well, I would say that you can't know how well you're communicating if you don't have a certain degree of self-awareness. And specifically, what comes to mind is this idea of emotional intelligence, or EQ. The best leaders have a high degree of emotional intelligence. And the first pillar of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. And in order to have self-awareness, which then flows into the second pillar, which is self-management, which is responding instead of reacting, impulse control, that's all personal leadership. So I have to take time to increase my self-awareness. I have to take time to journal, to have conversations where I ask for feedback, to see how the world perceives me, because we are horrible judges of our own character.
Yeah,
we are champions in our own mind. If you want to really know how you're coming across to the people that you work with and the people in your life, ask them. That's a tough thing to do. Yeah. Because of the fears and everything else we've been talking about so far. So when we endeavor to improve our relationships, to improve our work life, to improve our life in general, that requires self-awareness. And then when we take what we learn about who we are and incorporate it into the way we interact, it's going to show up in our communication.
Yeah, and that's so beautifully put. And I love what you said about having that emotional intelligence. Is, you know, that self-awareness. People who have promoted, and there's the Peter principle, which is you promote to the level of your incompetency. Sometimes in public service, one level above that, or two. Yeah. But the Peter principle, you promote to the level of your incompetency. For the people who are feeling that, and they're feeling those fears coming up, they're feeling like I'm not doing as well in this position as I was in the other position. Mm-hmm. That's an opportunity for if you're having that happen to you, It's a perfect opportunity for you to step back and go, okay, Adam just talked about the emotional intelligence. I need to get some of that and start looking into it. And again, Adam and I have both put ourselves out there as resources. We will steer you in the right direction. If you're in a leadership position and nobody adequately trained you how to be a good leader in whatever role that you're serving. And maybe you're a good leader in a prior role, but this role, the responsibilities are different. Adam's available. I'm available. Reach out to us, because you really ultimately have two choices. You can invest a little bit of time in reaching out to either Adam or I, or both of us, or you can continue to stumble your way along. And really, in today's world, in today's information age, there's no need to do that. So, Adam, thank you, man, so much. I know you got to run. You got tons of things to do. Hope to have you back on the show in the near future.
I'd love that.
Is there something that you can leave us with? Some little tidbit, if nothing else. How do we get a hold of you?
Well, anyone who has any direct questions for me or would like to learn more about my classes and bringing me in for anything at all, you can shoot me an email. My personal email is adam@thehealthydispatcher.com. And anyone can find me on social media. I'm all over the place, but thehealthydispatcher.com is a good place to start. And I think the thing that I want to leave you with is that you really make a difference where you are today in your organization, your role in your life. You make a huge difference, and stepping into the difference that you're making makes all the difference. So Carrie, thank you so much for having me here. I had a great time.
Same here. And for the listeners, you can find out about Adam by going to thehealthydispatcher.com. All of his contact information will be in the show notes. And you can also learn about Bankcode by going to mybankcode.com/victory. Take those steps. Don't sit back and put it off until later. Do it right now. Hop on your phone. On your phone, you can go to either of these places, healthydispatcher.com or mybankcode.com/victory, and just do it. Quit putting it off. Quit procrastinating. Make your life better. Adam, thank you for being here. Thanks for helping the world be a better place. You do it in so many different ways. It's a true pleasure having you on the show. Until next time, everybody knows my favorite phrase, do unto others before they even think about doing unto you. Bye for now and stay safe. I hope you found a lot of great value in this episode of the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. Please be sure to go out to our website, theidea.world, THEIDEA.world. On that website, just click on the link that resonates with you most. If you're a K-12 educator, if you're a firefighter, medical services, law enforcement, flight attendants, whatever industry you're in, we have specialized training for you. So check that training out, because literally it can save your life, it can save your relationship, it can save your career. So check out theidea.world. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. This is Kerry Mintz here, and thanks for watching this episode of the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. I hope you got some great insights that you can use right away. But don't stop here. Click that video link above and keep the momentum going with another powerful episode. And hey, if you haven't already, please hit that like button and the subscribe bell so you never miss an episode. New strategies, new stories, and new ways to connect coming your way every week. See you in the next episode.